Welcome to this video on constructing a confidence interval for one mean with a summary. Let's begin. Suppose you are a public health researcher working for a city, tasked with determining the average amount of water consumed per day by the residents. You want to estimate the average water consumption for the entire city, but you can only measure the consumption of a random sample of households due to time and resource constraints. You select a random sample of 50 households from across the city and measure the amount of water used per day in gallons. The data you collect from the sample is summarized as follows. The sample mean is 210 gallons, the sample standard deviation is 45 gallons, and as previously stated, the sample size is 50 households. Now you want to calculate a 95% confidence interval for the average daily water consumption of the entire city. So when you log into RGuroo, your screen should look something like this. So we're going to come over to the accordion menu on the left, and we're going to select Analytics, and then Analysis. We're going to go to Mean Inference, and One Population. So we have two options here. We can either select a data set, or we can enter the information that is a summary of an existing data set. So we're not given a data set, we're given a summary. So we're going to type in the sample mean, which was 210 gallons. The sample standard deviation was 45 gallons, and our sample size, remember we surveyed 50 houses or 50 households, so that's going to be 50. Notice this is blank. We do not have a population standard deviation, so we can't enter it in. So if you come down here, there's actually two tabs. There's confidence interval and test of hypothesis. So we're going to come back to this interface when we have to do hypothesis testing. But for right now, we want to do a confidence interval. And our confidence level actually is already 95%. So I could type in 0.95, but of course that's the default setting. So I don't actually have to change this in this particular example. The last thing I have to do is I have to tell RGuroo if I want to do a T or Z test. And because the population standard deviation is not being provided for me, I have to do a T test. Now at this point, it seems like I should be able to just click on this button, but as you can see, that generates an error. And the reason it generates an error is it wants a label for the population mean. So remember, what is my confidence interval trying to find? It's trying to find the mean of the daily water usage in gallons in the city. Okay, so once I type in something here, and if you're doing, I don't know, maybe like something just from a textbook and this isn't really for a project or anything useful, you could just type in some random letters here just to make the computer generate an answer. So once I do that, okay, now I can see the daily water usage in gallons is right here. I have my lower and my upper confidence limits. Okay, so the lower limit is 197.211. The upper limit is 222.789. It also generates my margin of error, which is 12.7889. And remember, if you had, or if you wanted a point estimate, that would be the sample mean that the problem gave you, which was 210. So let's take the information that we found in RGuroo and actually finish this problem. Notice that I've added that we are asked to round all of the values to the nearest gallon. So remember, when you're constructing your confidence interval, we have our lower limit and upper limit. Halfway in between is the point estimate, and the margin of error is the distance from the lower limit to the point estimate, or from the point estimate to the upper limit. So RGuroo already gave us the lower and upper limits. So that was 197 gallons and 223 gallons. Here I'm just, again, rounding to the nearest gallon. But what about the middle number, the point estimate? Well, remember, the point estimate is the same as your sample mean, which is what the value that was given to us in the original problem description. So that's going to be 210 gallons. So the only piece of information we're missing in this picture is the margin of error. And if you go back to RGuroo, it does feed you the margin of error directly, but you could also subtract off. So for example, you could do 210 minus 197 or 223 minus 210. And again, rounding to the nearest gallon, that gives us 13 gallons. So just to show you one more time where I got those values from RGuroo, the lower CL, that was your lower confidence level. That's where I got it 197. The upper limit is 222.789, so I rounded that to 223. That's where I got that. The margin of error, 12.7889, I rounded that to 13. And the point estimate is the mean, so that's 210. So again, all the information is here. You just have to use this information to fill in or to draw your confidence interval. So the last thing we need to do is to write a sentence to summarize our confidence interval. So we would say that we are 95% confident that the average daily water consumption in the city is between 197 and 223 gallons. And notice this wordage, this verbiage right here, average daily water consumption in the city. I lifted it straight from the description or the problem statement. It says average daily water consumption of the entire city. So you don't have to, you're not really composing things, you're really just kind of copying and pasting from the problem statement. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is it's very tempting in a math course to forget about units because you've probably spent your whole life in a math course just thinking about numbers and not really worrying what they mean. But now we need to start thinking about 197, 223. What does that mean? What are we measuring? Well, we're measuring the water in gallons. So it's very important that whatever your units are, you include them in your summary statement.